screen sharing capabilities as well?
You should. Do you see the option on there?
Okay, sweet. Yes.
There you are. All right.
Um,
You should be all set.
Alrighty. So first of all, we want to say good morning, happy new year. My name is Marquél Jeffries, pronouns he, him, his. I am a coordinator for educational programming in the James A. Triangle Institute. And then I have my colleague with me, Terrian Garvis, who I'll pass it off to quick.
Yes, welcome everyone. Happy Monday. Glad to be here. So my name is Terrian Garvis. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the assistant director in the institute. And I'll pass it back to Markel.
For sure. So, like I said, we want to thank you for coming to our session. Today we'll be talking about amplifying the faculty voice to debunk myths and explore identity. Um, so before we start, Joe, so just some guidelines. Definitely feel free to have your camera on or off. Please use the raise your hand feature, please. Ask questions in the chat throughout the session, and me and Terry will get to it. If you're able to, when speaking free, speak free when you have the opportunity, and it is okay to be on mute. My apologies. Um, so setting the foundation. So how this opportunity and how this kind of presentation came about was me and Terry and we were brainstorming on a proposal for the 2024 National Higher Ed Teaching Conference. And so this proposal was kind of to talk about, how can we amplify the voice of our faculty and, figure out ways on how to humanize them in ways like that, which we'll talk about a little bit more. So coming out of this presentation, we would definitely love to develop ideas that amplify the faculty and staff engagement around aspects of our social and personal identities and discuss the reasonings and produce products for our faculty video series, which we'll also dive into. So that's what we'll have for you all today. I'll pass it off to Sir Terrian.
Yeah, so it's always important that we're in this digital and also in-person space as well, more hybrid. So we just have like brain a aspect of us getting to know each other. Some individuals may, but we're a big campus, so really we have three things. So what's your name? The department on campus that you're representing, and you could talk about your role as well, and then one thing you're excited about for the spring semester. And so I can what we'll do is I'll make sure to I'll start with one person, then we'll popcorn from there. And so I know I talked about my name and department, but one thing I am excited for this spring semester is the it's really the opportunity for to to see some of the students. I work with some first year students last semester, and they're not used to the snow. So it's going to be interesting talking to them now, being that this will be their first spring semester. So having conversations with them about just their transition and helping them navigate the snow, as many of them are not going to be used to the amount of snow that Oswego gets. Um, and Markel, do you want to share anything exciting? And then we'll go to popcorn.
For sure. I'm always excited just for a new year, a new semester, getting to kind of see, I don't know, just kind of to see the developmental process, seeing like that rejuvenation of kind of like the campus that first couple weeks. So I'm excited to kind of, just see that energy kind of be indulge in it and contribute to it. So
Okay. Frank, we'll start with you and then we'll popcorn from there, okay?
Great. Frank Byrne. I'm a member of the history department, and I'll give you two things I'm excited about. One is I am teaching a course that is we have a year-long capstone kind of project, and this is the first part of that. So it's exciting because a lot of these students I've worked with for 2 or 3 years, and this is sort of you're reaching the end of the line. Hopefully, things are coming together and making sense for them, and it's very satisfying to see improvement. Because you met them when they were 18 and now they're 20, 21. So that's always exciting. And more cynically, it's my last semester as department chair forever. So that's exciting.
Thank you, Frank. You go on ahead, Maggie.
All right, I'll introduce myself. I'm Maggie Schmuel. I'm in the Criminal Justice Department, and I also do work with our Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching, holding professional development workshops for faculty across our campus. And there are many things I am excited about for this spring semester. Really, I'm excited to connect with my students again in a little bit more involved way, because this is my first semester being full-time back from leave. And it's really, I guess, over the last 3 years, I've been on parental leave a few times or a couple of times. And so I'm excited to kind of, really dive in and talk to adults and about adult topics and not about toddler things. So very excited about that. And yeah, I'll pass it to Grace.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. My name is Grace Maxon Clark. I work for the Educational Opportunity Program. And one thing I'm excited about for the spring semester is supporting and following our men's basketball team. I think they're fantastic. Thank you.
I guess I could go next. My name is Lizette Alvarado. I work in the Office of International Education and Programs. I'm Associate Director for Education Abroad. I'm very excited about sending students abroad. It's a job I've been doing for 22 years, but one that I get a kick out of every single semester. And I just love seeing the students go abroad, and when they return, seeing how bright their eyes are about their actual experiences that they had. So anything that I can do with faculty, staff, to engage them on the importance of education abroad, completing internships abroad. I'm excited to do that, and I look forward to working with each one of you, as it pertains to that goal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I don't know if everyone else has gone, but my name is Geraldine Gutierrez. I am part of the SUNY System Administration, and I saw an email go out about this going on. So I just wanted to pop in. I have a huddle with my team, but just wanted to see what this was about and kind of get to know some faces at SUNY Oswego. Thank you for having this.
Thank you. Yeah, we have 2 more people. Feel free to share, otherwise we'll move. So we have Abby and John.
I'll go quick. I don't know how often I can share, but I'm
Yep.
excited to listen in. So I'm visiting you from SUNY Del High. I'm also the director of our Center for Excellence and Innovation and Teaching and Learning. And I'm also in the classroom, and I'm always looking forward to a new start. I think that's the beauty of education. You get to do it all over again and add new things in, respond to the students that are in your room and their interests and direction that they want to take things, and just getting other people up and running. So I'm hoping to attend a bunch of different sessions that you all are offering, and bringing stuff back to our campus. And we're looking to host something next spring that's kind of big and good. So I have some community partners I'm working with as well to incorporate business and industry with our campus. So lots of fun things. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Abby, for joining us. And I think John's iPhone refers to John Kane,
Oh,
who's that's my guess.
yes, yes.
So I think we can probably go ahead.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you all for doing that. I think it's very important that even these digital spaces, there are going to be so many workshops, but just a way of getting to know each other or even sharing some things. I think that builds connection, opportunities for collaboration. So thank you all for that. All right. So now I have a go into the content a little bit, and then as Marquél talked about, really the foundation. Really one of the things that we are working, setting the stage as we talk about our faculty. And so really kind of explain a little bit, especially as we think about our office is new and just about the work that we do. So there is the Office of Diversity Inclusion that is headed by Kendra Cadogan, and then that is the James A. Trandaflow Institute for Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Transformative Practices. And so they are two entities, but the way things have worked, they've been meshed into one. And so really what I'm going to just say and address is that they're two different areas. And for many individuals on our campus, as we talk about it and the work that we do, we try to separate them and working towards that. So one of the things that we're constantly going to do is just, what is the Institute? So the Institute is a educational hub and resource center. So we build upon collaboration, upon amplifying the work that our faculty, staff members, students do, also outreaching towards the community. We know about as we think about inclusion and looking at the title, long title of our name, that includes a lot of work. So we have to include a lot of people in that conversation. So we do not claim to be experts in this. We try to work with others and continually educate ourselves about how do we better bring awareness about certain topics. How do we be there for students, faculty, staff members in an equitable manner? How do we consider the aspect of inclusion? Even how do we amplify our community? So both the Oswego community, but also the Syracuse community as well. So how do we build those bridges? That's a little bit of work that we do. The Office of Diversity and Inclusion really is the concerning the policies and procedures. But we are boots on the ground. How do we connect? How do we build collaborations? And so that's a lot of the work that we do, and that's what kind of created the spark for our faculty. And so workshops moving forward, we are definitely, as we have heard from our community, how do we separate, build this out as we build our team even more, both departments building their team, but especially figure out how do we help if we want to amplify our work to tell people this is what we do versus this is what the Office of Diversity and Inclusion does. And so moving into just the work that we do, and as I use some of these where as I talk about the Institute several times, I want to always address about the aspect of awareness, about collaboration, and about this aspect of connection. And so uh, what one of the projects or initiatives that we have in our office is called the Oz Inclusivity Playbook. And so when we think of the aspect of a playbook, it is going back to sports. So you see this, like this has different plays or different objectives to it. Like what's the goal of this? Really, the playbook in a sense is just a combination of how do we bring others to the table? How do we educate people? Again, we're not the only source of this. There are many individuals on our campus who are doing this work. So the playbook is a way of how do we gather all the individuals that are doing work related to our office, and how do we amplify what they are doing? How do we build that connection and collaboration so that we are taking away some of the silos? And we also don't claim property that we know everything. And so we want to give the intellectual property and the knowledge to those who are actually doing the work and sharing that out to our community. And even in that, it is developing a resource as we think about technology today. How do we share resources with others, but in a very strategic way, in a way that is useful for all individuals? And it's not just trying to check a box. It is making sure that we're doing things that are intentional and equitable for all individuals. And again, going back to the aspect of awareness. And so awareness is really a state of being, and knowing that how do we do that for a campus as diverse as thinking about our student diversity, uh, but also in relation to our different faculty and staff members who are coming, who have different racial, ethnic identities, gender identities, and even accessibility. So all these different things to consider. There's so many topics, but how do we bring awareness to these things? And as society begins to change and grow and develop, there are different nuances such as terminology that happens that how do we shape and change and adapt our own terminology? So that's a lot of the work that we do in our small office. But the playbook is combining all of that together. And again, trying to work upon these three things of collaboration and connect and developing this resource and bringing the awareness. And ways that we do that is at least once a month, you all at SUNY Oswego, what we do is through the Oswego Today, we have different awarenesses. So last month was about the December awarenesses. So we talked about not just Christmas, but also we talked about Hanukkah, and we talked about Kwanzaa. So just educating people about that because everybody doesn't celebrate the same holiday. And so how do we bring awareness to those? But also in the work that we do is framing it to where if our community members are saying, hey, this is one thing we need to talk about, then let's add that. So we are constantly growing, adapting, and shaping. This is just not one way that it looks. It is a constantly moving calendar in a sense, but just bringing awareness towards that.
Mhm. For sure. And so, piggybacking off of what Terrian said, so, you know, aspects of, okay, we have this playbook, and so much potential for it to kind of highlight, observe different awarenesses and, different aspects of people's identities in which, you know, to kind of enhance that inclusivity and that, that comfortability and that safe space within our environment. So we were thinking about what were um some of the challenges around, kind of faculty and staff. Um, and some were, students not being able to see, or I'll let Sir Terrian kind of say the first two, and then I'll kind of go into the last two. But these are kind of some of the the four challenges that we've observed in kind of framing what our faculty video initiative turned out to be. So pass it to Sir Terrian and
Yeah, and so thank you for just building a foundation there, Marquél, because yeah, as we think about the work that we do as being very intentional. And so the first two is, many times we hear this, but also it's very much you can Google it, there's different articles, there are dissertations on this, there are books on this, but just talking, many of us interact with students where they say they don't see themselves in an academic space. And so that is very important, the work that we do, so that we are a multi-ethnic, multi-linguistic, and intersectional society. We do have spaces that are homogeneous, but thinking about our students are going to be working with people that look different from them, have different identities, different physical attributes, and also some attributes that they do not see. And so one of the things that we want to do with our faculty is our faculty members, and although we say faculty in general, also there are staff members that teach as well. And so they educate students. And so what we did is how do we amplify what they do and share this out? So we've done one on Black History Month and one on Latina and Hispanic Heritage Month. So students may not be in that department, but how do we share out and utilize social media, utilize video content to share out that, hey, if they're saying that they don't see themselves in academic space, maybe there are challenges financially now with getting faculty members, different faculty members in the space, the expertise, the challenges of the location at Oswego. There's so many other challenges to consider. So they may not be in the academic department. How do we share out that there are individuals that share one or multiple of their identities that are educating others on our campus. So that was one, and then the other challenge that we observed that we're hoping that added to why we wanted to do that why we're doing our faculty is then this is specifically faculty related, that many faculty members, especially marginalized communities or historically excluded communities, they share that when they come to an academic setting, a lot of the service that they do provides institutional value because you're keeping students there, when keeping students there, that is more money for the institution, and then after that, we're getting more students to retain, more students to graduate. So that's adding institutional value. But the challenge comes is that many faculty members are not able to add the extra labor that into their tenure files. So that extra thing that they are doing due to their identities, many times is finding the value of that. And that may not be depending on the institution that they're at, depending on the area that they're at, they can't add that to their tenure file. And so what we are hoping to and still wanting to do is because they are providing this institutional value, we want to amplify that by them talking about themselves, talking about the work, talking about why they do what they do, and how did they get to this point. And so because of that, all these are factors. So we want to specifically, we definitely want to retain our students, but we surely want to retain our faculty and staff members. So this is our hope with our faculty, is that we can amplify and connect them with students, but also more importantly, is show them that the work that they do is valuable, and until it gets to the point that it can be added to their tenure files, that it still is valuable. And so we want to address that and highlight that. And so I'll pass the other two to Marquél.
Oh, for sure. And so kind of just adding on to that, some of the other challenges we observe is, not just faculty exclusive, but definitely feelings of kind of being siloed within, or a sense of isolation kind of within specific departments that people are working in, especially kind of, definitely some articles that kind of highlighted that after COVID, so things like due to kind of getting back into the swing of physical work, or, due to rebuilding or strengthening, prioritizing, those things within your department first. So sometimes it can kind of go over to kind of think about, oh, maybe we can collaborate or, kind of build this connection with other departments as well. And then, another big thing, the overall thing that we wanted to do was like, how can we represent other aspects and interests of, our faculty, and staff on campus? Not, this is not, just for SUNY Oswego, but, for any other campuses, like figure out ways how we can ingrain, other interests aside from the, kind of the professional aspects, or, you know, um, the reason why people are employed and things like that, because we are, more than those kind of beings. So those are some of the things that kind of set the platform in the Our Faculty video series. And so with our faculty video series is kind of exactly what we kind of talked about, addressing those issues or addressing those kind of aspects or challenges. So as you can see, these are maybe just four renditions or, four previews of some of the faculty that we've had the opportunity to interview. And, through these videos, we got to learn more about kind of why, what sparked their passion to even, dive into their educational interests. We also kind of figure out like what were their passions, what were some things that they did outside of the office or outside of their work lives that kind of fueled them and things like that. So kind of building a foundation to kind of show not only our students but the rest of the faculty on how just figuring out, excuse just showing ways that figure out other relational and connecting pieces. And so um we do have a preview which will show if that's okay with you all. And this person, her name is Dr. Selinette Duran Jimenez, who is a part of the criminal justice department in SUNY Oswego. The video may be a little choppy, but hopefully the audio is good. So let's run that.
My name is Celina Dura Jimenez. I am an assistant professor in criminal justice, and I am beginning my 4th year with the institution, 2nd year as a tenure track professor. My nationality is Dominican. I identify as Afro-Latina. I just think that based on the aspects of my ancestry, I don't feel comfortable identifying as Hispanic, even though either one could apply. Based on my roots, my indigenous culture, to me, being Afro-Latina, my melanin, my hair, the ways in which I carry myself, and then the aspects of how I was raised, I feel more Afro-Latina. Not feel, I am Afro-Latina. My work responsibilities include teaching, contributing to scholarship through publishing, through editing other articles, presenting at conferences, advising. I spend a lot of time advising. I think that as an educator, particularly at a comprehensive college, that my first priority, my first responsibility is to students. I do spend a lot of time mentoring students. I spend a lot of time with students in and outside of the classroom. Being a woman of color, being an Afro-Latina, I think that there are aspects of not just my identity, but also the neighborhoods in which I grew up in that help students connect to understand what we mean by inequities in social structure, what we mean by the oppressive aspect of the criminal justice system, because we cannot have a criminal justice curriculum and not talk about those ideals. First and foremost, I would say let your adversaries be your biggest motivation, because there's always going to come a time where someone is going to tell you or make you feel that you are lesser than, that you are unqualified, but you've done the work. You have given all of yourself to whatever career it is that you decide to do. And as long as you've done your best, that's the best that you can strive for. Take time out to relax, take time out to spend time with friends, because the friends that are here today will not necessarily be there tomorrow. And I really appreciate the people who are there for you from the very beginning and who are still there for you after, I guess you can say, you've made it, but I'm still waiting on the day that I can say that I made it.
So yes, thank you all for your analysis. We get back to it. So I want to pass it back to Sir Terrian. So thank you all for viewing that.
Yeah, and so I want to put on here too about yes. So in here I put on there, if you Marquél showed the video, Dr. Menez, and then also the others that we've done. And so if you want to check those out, we put those on our Instagram. And so they're short clips. Each of them are, they're no more than 4 minutes. And so we had those interviews with them that were at least 30 plus minutes, and then shorten it up. So there's a lot of nuggets and stuff that they share throughout each one. Especially those were some of the key points, the question stuff that we asked. And so really next that we want to discuss with you all with the time that we do have, because we're doing this, shared this out on social media. Some people see it, some people don't because of how the aspect of social media is. And so we just have two questions that we really want to talk amongst each other with. And so really what I'm going to do is these are the two questions that you see on the screen, but I'm going to ask that we do this. And so all of us think and process differently. And so and this is the aspect of just brainstorming. And so I'm gonna ask that we do about 2 minutes. So I'm gonna section this out 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then 5+ minutes. So we're gonna do, and I'm also added to the chat as well. We're gonna do 2 minutes of just looking at the questions and then processing them, writing down. So I'm not asking for anybody to raise their hand or put in or maybe you can start typing in the chat, but you don't have to put it in there yet. So just taking 2 minutes to ruminate on the questions that we have. So it's gonna be quiet. That's completely fine. And so we're gonna do that for 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna come back, and then the next 3 minutes or so, I'm just gonna ask for people to put in the chat, raise your hand, feel sharing some of the things to answer one or both of the questions, depending on how much time that we do have. So we're going to do that. And so I'm just asking for people to just share. And some ideas may work, some ideas may not. And that's completely fine. This is a brainstorm and just getting the information out. So in our 5 minutes or so, again, that's the third piece of this. I'm gonna ask that, if someone shared something that you're like, oh, I agree with that, or have we thought and considered that? That's gonna be our time of feedback towards each other, or just to say, oh, I'm glad you pointed this out, or to comment on the idea. And so I'm gonna put in the chat again. We have 2 minutes of reflecting, writing stuff down, 3 minutes to just want people to just share whatever is on their mind. And then the 5+ minutes, we're going to use some time to just add to a comment or provide some context to what someone shared before. Okay. Also add this in the chat and do our 2 minute pause. Okay. Starting at 2 minutes now. Okay. We are at our 2 minutes. And so, all right. Now we'll take about 3 minutes or so. So Frank, go ahead. You raise your hand. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to skip the second question because I'm a cishet white guy, and I think we know exactly, no one's silencing me. So I really appreciate what you're doing, and I looked at some of your profiles, and I really think they're effective. Because they're well done. The production value, I think, is quite good, and the questions are good. I just want to offer a little bit of my perspective. So I've been on this campus for over 2 decades. The history department traditionally is one of the most diverse departments on campus, both in terms of race, gender, a country of origin, which I know from the administration perspective doesn't often count as a diversity, but I think it does. I think it helps our students. And as an ally, this is something I've been thinking about a long time, because you're absolutely right that particularly the mentoring position burns out faculty of color, and they do it over and over and over again. It's really not rewarded in terms of tenure. It's not rewarded in terms of DSI. I know staff is the same way, and your office is critically important. But if it doesn't get the support of the academic affairs side of the house, or obviously the president's cabinet, it's a very difficult thing to do. And I'll just give you a couple examples. Many times we've put in for a Native American history position, and someone from the administration will say, well, can we get a Native American to teach this position? And there's only a handful of Native Americans in history with PhDs. But if you're going to do that, you have to have the resources. And as you said, it's not just salary, it's also location and other things. And the resources are typically wanting. It's a lot of rhetoric, but it's not a lot of resources. And once again, I've with faculty, and I won't mention them by name, but you know who I'm speaking of. I had several faculty, and one of them, Sally, we just saw. I see them mentoring all the time, and I go to administration and I say, we have to create processes, we have to create avenues so that could be rewarded. Because candidly, students of color are not coming to ask me about my views on how to get through life and on campus. So those are just my frustrations. I really appreciate what you guys are doing, but we need to have more resources on the academic affairs side of the house.
Thank you for sharing it, Frank. I appreciate that, and I can touch on a few things what you say. That can surely wait. But definitely am grateful in that you see this, you're aware of it, that you're advocating. So I think that's what's most important to start. I appreciate you as chair advocating your position. So that's awesome. Any others want to share just their thoughts to or comment to these questions? Feel free to raise your hand.
I'll jump in quick. This is Abby again. Also, thank you for your work. And I think the more barriers we break down for our students to get to know us, the better. We're also in a small location, to reiterate what Frank said. So keeping diverse members and recruiting diverse members to our community is challenging. But I also want to, be mindful that diversity encapsulates so many things. And so really getting to know people really shows how diverse we are. And diversity is fantastic, but similarities are also better. So, understanding that everyone is struggling with burnout, with time, with family issues, is also key to building community. And I think we want to be mindful of both aspects, right? And that we need to build those systems on our campus for everyone to feel included, but also to have safe spaces within their communities, voices and support. So I love the project. I think that a lot of times faculty members tend to be introverted and specialists in their area. So I also sometimes challenge the concept that it has to be somebody with a higher education degree. We have folks across our campus working on projects with students from all walks of our campus, whether it be buildings and grounds, our food service, And I think when we include those people in our conversations and in our classrooms and in presentations, then we see the value of our whole community, and then students find someone to connect with. And it may not always be a faculty member. So I love the conversations about sharing more of yourself, what your passions are, so that we can see how diverse we may really be beyond what we look like. And also our similarities and how we can reach students on our campuses in multiple ways. So I love the project. I've had something buzzing like this in my mind, just even when you walk into a space, who's who works there, making things more easy for everyone to identify safe spaces, safe people, who you're looking for. So fantastic, kudos.
Thank you for sharing that. And that's exactly aspects of what we do. And you pointed out, like sharing, yes, the diverse faculty members on our campus, but also they're able to articulate some things that do bring similarities. He brought out the different challenges that happen amongst students, amongst faculty, and how if it's burnout, there regardless of racial aspects or identity aspect, all of us can connect to the aspect of burnout. So even in these videos, we are showcasing people of different. We're focused on. We started with these racial aspects, but identity is a larger scope, and we're building. These are our first building blocks towards this, and so there are ways that we surely are going to touch on multiple identities. But thinking about just the two that we pointed out, that yes, there are these identities, but there are several similarities that they have amongst others that we're building that bridge of connection and awareness. Sorry, going ahead.
I really
Oh,
appreciate everyone sharing on here, and I think so many points are brought up that are so valid. I come from an institution where we did something talking about the burnout within faculty and staff members, and also utilizing the resources that are already present within staff, faculty, and different members of the actual campus community. There was something called racial caucusing that was done after some incidents of microaggressions went on. I don't know if you all folks have heard of that, but I think that became another place where people could build community. So it was like faculty and staff that identified as people of color or Black, brown, were able to set up some time, and the administration was supportive of it, to really sit down and talk about the student issues that were coming up, the administrative issues, the challenges personally, and even just build community and share like what was going on with them personally. And the folks that identified as white, like worked on an anti-race, how to be an anti-racist workbook. So that started happening. It took up extra people's time, and people had to discern, like, how much can I fit in on this Friday to do this work? Can I stay for the 30 minutes that we are assigned, or can I take up, another 45 minutes and stay extra? So I think people being in administration being supportive of faculty and recognizing that this is something that comes up that takes up extra burden and time and space helps with the burnout, and providing a space like that really can help a department propel themselves in unearthing some of these little nuances that need to be addressed in terms of oppressive dynamics and undue burden. So thank you for sharing, and I hope that's helpful for some folks to create that space and be encouraged to create that space.
Thank you for sharing that, Geraldine. I think that is key. And like you said, in finding ways of people within the identity, their work, but also people that may not share that identity as well, to add their own ways or aspects to, like, we all want the goal of a more inclusive community. And so we can't do that on the backs of some. It must be all of us working together to get that done. And so that's a lot of work to get there, but and it may be different, that's okay. But how do we get to that? So I appreciate that. Anyone else want to share?
Yeah, I like to add something.
Mhm.
Again, I'm from international education, study abroad. One of the things that I've noticed over the years with education abroad, as a promoter of a study abroad, getting students in to come and talk to us about, studying abroad and things like that. This notion again about the other and who the other is, and bringing, I purposely have put myself in a situation to, when we talk about the other, to be inclusive of white people being part of who the other is. So the other is every one of us. This idea that the other is someone who is not me, for example, but the other is all of us. And like, actually, when I've taken that perspective, I've treated every single student that comes to sit at the table the same way. So what I address with a Black student, I address with a white student. What I address with a Latino student, I address with a Jewish student, or with a student in the LGBTQ community, or those students at least that identify to me who they are. Those they don't, I purposely go out of my way not to make an assumption. And I tell them, I am not making an assumption because I've made that mistake before. So I'm not going to assume that you speak Spanish, for example. And then we laugh. So the student laughs with me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not making that assumption just because I've seen your surname, Demi Melendez or Alvarado or Cruz or whatever. So not making those assumptions. And then when I place myself in a situation to have like dialogue with my colleagues in the field of international education, is to say to them that you are also the other, and that you gotta have that conversation with all students equally. So if you have an African-American student that comes and sits at your table, then you have to have that conversation with them about what it will mean being an African-American abroad. That is your job, to prepare yourself on how you're going to carry that message and prepare the students for what they should be expecting when they are studying abroad. And that's just an example. And I've actually had, folks come back and say, oh my God, Lisa, you're so right. I never thought about it in that way. I never thought that I could actually open myself to have that conversation with the student. But it is our job. It's not just about, it's our job as educators. We have to take a responsibility as educators to have those conversations. And then when we say we are an ally, somehow we have to let the students know we are an ally when they come in and sit at that table, when they meet with us across campus, and things like that. So I just wanted to give that as I guess as an example of something that I do to alleviate, I think at times, the stress that may come. And if I don't know something, I tell the student, I don't know, but I'll do everything in my power to go and find out and see how I can assist you. Being a student in the LGBT plus community in Japan, what does that mean? Or in Spain, what does that mean? And those things can come, and I don't have all the information all the time, but that is okay. I'm giving myself permission not to know, but can I still be an ally to that student to assist them? Just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizette. I really do appreciate what you shared, and especially, making sure to not make assumptions, that we're constantly doing that. When assumptions do happen, how do we work through adapting and changing our language and our viewpoints and exploring what that is by asking questions and whatnot, and then even addressing the hardest thing that many of us don't want to say is, I don't know. That's one of the hardest things, especially as educators. We want to be there, we want to build support, but that it is important to say that. So just being respectful of time, I'll share, say this, where I appreciate the conversations that we have, appreciate just just the things that you all shared. The question that we ask, I think there's questions we will continue to ask as we build a more inclusive community, as we look to the future. And so would love you all support. And how do we make this bigger, better? There's other projects and whatnot. And thinking about is not just, the faculty videos we did now, but we would love to do more of these. And we're going to include other identities. So what about we talked about international students, people from other countries that's not the US. How do we think about our accessibility needs So it's not just although our society is about consider race and race and ethnicity, also there's other things on the social identity spectrum, social identity wheel that we can consider that we are considering, because all is not just those two focus. And so I just want to thank you for that and give the floor to Marquél to share anything and close us out.
Yes, just to piggyback off of Terrian, I just want to say like thank y'all for y'all time and for the insight. Like I think it's kind of it's I think the initiative is cool, kind of when we was thinking about it and it coming about, but I think to kind of hear like the feedback and even just the perception that you all have gotten, especially, in your own perspectives and your positions, like I think that helps give us a scope on how we can continue and build on the initiative, and kind of enhancing that intention as well with it. So definitely thank y'all for your time, and like you said, happy new year and maybe have a good semester, and thank you for everyone, for the people outside of SUNY Oswego's campus as well for tapping in as well. So thank you all.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.
I emailed you that I came into this.
Oh.
I can't get into